About a month ago, I quit my corporate, well paying job to give trading my full attention. Am I crazy? Maybe. But I also believe that with preparation, consistent efforts, and time, just about anything is possible. Anything is achievable. On top of that, I think I approached jumping to this new phase of my life in a very rational manner. I didn't take any vacations in the past 3 years. I saved up as much money as I could because I knew that one day I wanted to put all bets on myself and see where it could take me. I think if I didn't give trading a full on chance of making it work, I would deeply regret that down the line. Now, for anyone that might be interested in hearing about my backstory a bit for whatever reason, because it's not that exciting, I worked in the financial industry. I was fully licensed, and for the first year of my employment, the firm prohibited day trading. The minimum holding period they allowed was of 30 days or more, with the whole reason being that if you had insider information, you wouldn't be quickly capitalizing on it and then calling it a day. And because of that, I did not trade for a whole year, and it was miserable because the thing that you really care about was like stripped away from you, and it sucked. And then a year after working there, I switched to a different firm, and even though it's within the same exact industry, for whatever reason, that policy did not apply, which still doesn't make sense to me because all financial firms are regulated by the same body. So I don't know how come one firm had a policy of this and the other one didn't. But for whatever reason, they allowed day trading, and so I happily jumped back into it. As time progressed, however, I realized that it's becoming difficult to balance trading and my job. The time zone that I'm in has market open at 6:30 a.m. and it goes on till 1. And I would wake up before market open, I would get myself ready for work, get my lunch, and then I would get in about half an hour, 40 minutes of the market open time. And I would have to drive to work. You get to work, you open up the emails, there are a bunch of client issues that you have to deal with, everything is urgent, you have your other tasks, so you can't really trade because you have this job that you have to prioritize. And there were days when things would slow down and I would be able to focus on trading, but they were... Oh, it's time for my apple pie. 1 second. Are you even retired if you don't bake? Alright, gonna put the timer on for like 35 minutes and then we're gonna have some apple pie and coffee. As I was saying, there were days when things would be slower and I would be able to give trading more of my time. But those days were not often, and it felt almost unfair to trading because the data I would collect would be from like random periods of the market. Like if it's a hotter market, and I'll be able to put in a few days of like solid trading, and then you can't trade anymore because of work, and then you get some days from like the slower markets. Your data size, your data sample is not going to be comprehensive, and it's hard to conclude anything based on these like random trades. But despite that, I kept trying to balance it out because I wasn't ready to leave the job. And eventually I had this massive project that was very demanding and time sensitive with a lot of moving parts to keep track of, that took all of my efforts. And at first I tried keeping the balance of trading and the job, but I quickly realized that I will suck at both of them if I keep doing this. And so for the whole period of that project, which was about 2 months, I put trading on the slow burner. And with the way the compensation structure within that team worked, I expected to get monetarily rewarded for the work that I put in. When I wasn't rewarded immediately by the end of that project, I felt tired, I felt burned out, and I felt discouraged. Like, you didn't get the money you hoped for, you didn't even get one thank you. Even though the work, the efforts, the time that you put in, and the quality of that work, in my opinion, was something that nobody else in the office could have accomplished. And it made me realize that when I put in that kind of work in, I want to get rewarded. And the only way to have control over that is to work for yourself. And that's when like the major seed was planted in my mind to leave the job. But for a few months afterwards, I kept debating and constantly thinking about like whether I should leave or not, because I wanted to make sure I had the savings lined up. But then the market started tanking and I had most of my money invested, and I didn't feel comfortable leaving the job with things being very unstable. But eventually the market recovered. I sold a good chunk of my money to make sure I knew exactly how much money I had. And during this whole time, I kept like praying about it, journaling, thinking about it to see if the time is right, if my decision is a solid one. And eventually I just felt like so ready that I knew if I just like walked out of here, I would have no regrets whatsoever. And that's when I put in the 2-week notice and then left the job. Now that I'm a little bit over a month into my retirement, not only am I the happiest, most peaceful and content I've been in a very long time, but the amount of hours you're able to dedicate to screen time has been paying off immensely, because you're collecting, almost like subconsciously, you're collecting all of this information, this data, like seeing the changes in level 2, the price action, how it goes from being like a nice moving stock to becoming ugly and the candle is becoming all wicked and you know like not to touch it. All these little things you absorb and you are able to recognize so much quicker. It's like you're almost building up an intuition sort of feeling, but also you're able to see your own mental patterns, like I have a tendency to do this, or I'm good at this. And you're able to just discern things so much quicker and progress quicker as well. With that being said, trading is a very solo-like endeavor. And besides trading and like jiu-jitsu that I do and little tasks in between, I don't really have that much else to do, and I really felt an urge to create something. Hence this channel, and I don't know where it's gonna take me, what I'm gonna post, but I think it's a nice way to satisfy the creative side of me and perhaps share my journey and help you guys along the way. And a bit of a selfish reason to have something to look back on and see how far I've came. So if you guys have any suggestions of what you want to see, please drop a comment. I'd be happy to read through it and maybe I'll do some of them.